A very good evening all. I'm Aditi Lama with the Tuesday night edition of South Asian News, Vision of Asia. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Welcome to the show. Let's begin the episode taking a look at the coronavirus pandemic and its impact. The world has surpassed 179 million cases of COVID-19 with now nearly 4 million deaths. India, home to many of our viewers, has now surpassed 30 million COVID-19 cases with at least 389,000 deaths. India today declared a new coronavirus variant to be of concern and said nearly 24 cases have been detected in 3 states. This variant is being identified locally as Delta Plus and it is showing increased transmissibility. Here in the United States, we are at more than 33 million COVID-19 cases with now more than 600,000 deaths. At least 150 million people in the nation have now been fully vaccinated. That is more than 45% of the U.S. population. In politics, here in the United States, in New York City, we saw today the Democratic primary for city's mayor with 13 Democrats running for the title. The voters picked their party nominees for the first time using ranked choice voting. Meanwhile, Democrats' expansive voting rights bill headed for a big roadblock in the Senate today. More on this and COVID-19 updates are on the show tonight, so let's take a look at the headlines. Should children get COVID-19 vaccine? Updates and measure featuring Dr. Naveen Mehrotra. FIA and Indian Consulate host 7th International Day of Yoga, Liberty State Park, New Jersey. Democrats push for voting rights bill for the People Act featuring veteran journalist Rohit Vyas. Time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I am Aditi Lama and this is Vision of Asia, Tuesday night episode of South Asian News. On the coronavirus pandemic and more, let's now take a look at children ages 2 to 17. Latest data reveals that children now account for more than a fifth of new coronavirus cases and many experts are worried about the spread of the Delta variant of the coronavirus in children. On vaccines, so far the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for emergency use in children aged 12 to 17, and efforts to vaccinate this group has been visible all over. Meanwhile, there are currently clinical trials going on to assess the safety and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 2 to 11, and hopefully a vaccine could be available for these young children later this September. But how should these children protect until a vaccine is available, especially with schools going in person this fall? And how important is it to vaccinate children ages 12 to 17? On this and much more, we spoke to Dr. Naveen Mehrotra. Here is Dr. Mehrotra. Let's first talk about the age groups of 12 and 17. Pfizer vaccine has been approved for that. Moderna is saying that its vaccine is also safe and effective. How important do you think it is for us to vaccinate this group of adolescents?
At this point, it is absolutely critical to go ahead and vaccinate all the adolescents. And hopefully when the indication comes in for younger kids, that we go ahead and vaccinate even the younger kids. The pool of, the adults are all been vaccinated. Everybody above 16 was being vaccinated. And once the indication came in for the adolescent group, these adolescents are being vaccinated. So we need to make sure that, especially as they're going to be coming back into school in person, the transmission needs to be decreased. We need to make sure that the adolescents get vaccinated so that they are not a carrier pool and transmitting the COVID vaccine, the virus, to others back again.
Right. However, we are seeing a lot of hesitancy from parents for even that age group, Doctor. I'd like to know how you think COVID-19 is affecting those people between the ages of 12 and 17. And, what do you say to people that are still hesitant to get that group of children vaccinated?
Well, what's happened, I think, is there is a lot of information that comes out on the media, a lot of information that gets transmitted from person to person, which may not have scientific validity. So parents get scared and they try to sort of shy away from these vaccines. Many of us have that fear that since these vaccines were approved under the emergency use, that they weren't tested enough, that we really don't know what the side effects of the vaccines are going to be, or what the long-term negative impact of the vaccine is going to be. And then we started to hear about possible side effects of the vaccines. Then lately what we've been hearing about is the effects around the heart, the myocarditis with the vaccine, and all of these pieces of information that we as parents get tends to scare us. And that is where I think the hesitancy is coming in. But what we have to look at is the overall picture, what has happened since the vaccines came out. We know about a year ago when the pandemic had hit, the way people were dying, what was happening in terms of healthcare. And as the adults started to get vaccinated, we saw the transmissions rates going down. We saw the severity of the disease going down, and definitely a much society than before the vaccine came in. Once the vaccine then was approved for the adolescents, people said, well, it wasn't studied enough. There really wasn't enough rigorous activity that was done to approve this vaccine. And people just, the government wanted to just go ahead and approve the vaccine. But when we look at that, the side effect profile that we've seen is pretty much what we've seen in adults. So when millions and millions of doses have been given to adults, the side effects that we've seen are minimalistic. And, the protection from the vaccine has been much more.
Doctor,
so the hesitancy that's coming in,
right,
I think, needs to be looked at very carefully with the parents.
Definitely. When you're looking at just that age group, because I have questions for the age groups as well, the 12 to 17 age group, do you think it has any developmental effect on their body after they get this vaccine?
To date, we have no indication of that. So the fear that something is going to happen long term pretty much is unfounded at this point. So at this point, we don't have any scientific evidence that there is any long-term impact on the vaccine.
Do you see Moderna get approved for this age group soon as well?
That is up to the vaccine approval authorities. At this point, we hope that it will get approved so that we have more vaccine for the adolescents that can be given.
And doctor, will it have the same effect as the Pfizer vaccine in terms of, the side effects you get after that?
Once again, we don't know the answer to that, but the side effect profile has been very similar in adults and between the Pfizer and the Moderna. So we're assuming that will be the similar side effect profile that we see in adolescents.
Yes, and let's hope that this happens soon. Now I have questions about the age group of 2 to 11. Currently, I believe both the vaccines, Moderna and Pfizer, are doing these clinical trials, and they're saying that they will have some results in September, perhaps. I would like some insight into what is happening in these clinical trials, whatever you have heard. And, we're also hearing that they may have a lower dose of the COVID-19 vaccine being administered to them, that age group. Why is that?
So we're still in the process of studying the vaccines. We are in the process of clinical trials. So what happens in clinical trials, for people who may not know the terminology, is a group of kids in that age group will get the real vaccine, and a similar group will get what's called placebo. So it might just be some salt water or some sterile water that gets injected into the child. And then they look at the effect of the vaccine as compared to the placebo. And if we see an effect that comes in with the vaccine and the side effect profile is very low, then that is where the vaccine gets deemed effective and gets approved for that age group. So when we're looking at the age group between 2 and 11, or even younger, we are using that age group as our, and many people might say, guinea pigs, but really those are the kids that are getting the vaccine, and we are now looking at the efficacy of that vaccine. And when these studies were done in the older age group between 12 and 18, a lot of what we studied was in that age group, and we saw that the vaccine was almost 100% effective. And that is where the emergency use approval came in for adolescents as well.
At the popular Liberty State Park in New Jersey, the Federation of Indian Associations Tri-State FIA and the Consulate General of India in New York organized the 7th International Day of Yoga recently. Recognized for its universal appeal, International Day of Yoga has been celebrated every June since 2014, when the United Nations proclaimed it as a day to raise awareness worldwide of the benefits of practicing yoga, with many countries participating in this effort. This year, International Day of Yoga was marked by the theme Yoga for Well-Being. This theme comes as the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated psychological suffering and mental health problems, including depression, anxiety, and fear for many. So to address the mental health and physical effects of the pandemic on the human body, this International Day of Yoga brought in a message to stay healthy and rejuvenated through yoga, to work on one's physical and mental well-being during the coronavirus pandemic and promote holistic health. On that, here are some highlights from the International Day of Yoga event brought together by FIA and Indian Consulate, which saw popular British singer Jay Sean as the guest of honor. Here is the story.
My name is Anil Bansal. I'm the president of FIA, and today we celebrated International Yoga Day, which has been authorized by UN for last 7 years. Besides so many benefits of yoga, improving our lung function have become more pronounced, especially during the COVID times. We would really like you to be proud of being a person of Indian heritage, that we have treated the world as our own family and shared it all. We hope that you feel proud and you spread the benefit of yoga and let all humans benefit from this wonderful, wonderful long-term procedure from India. Namaskar.
Thank you, President. I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the participants, Honorable Consul General Jaiswal Sir, DCG Sinha Sir, for taking the time out to join us. Our lovely actor Jay Sean, former Miss America, Nina Davaluri, who has been very kind. Both of them have been very kind to FIA, and every time we have reached out, they have extended their support wholeheartedly. So I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for supporting FIA throughout the course.
The theme for this year's yoga is Yoga for Wellness. And for that reason, we want to go beyond yoga, not just yoga, but beyond yoga. You know, yoga has various facets to it, but there are a couple of facets which make it so special. Yoga is about health. Yoga is about unity and togetherness. Yoga is about living in harmony with nature, and most important of all, yoga helps you to experience your human self in the deepest form. For all these reasons and many more, happy International Day of Yoga.
This is Ankur Vedya from FIA, and I want to wish the viewers of Parik Worldwide Media a very happy, healthy and safe International Yoga Day. As you can see in the background, we have a very good turnout. Celebrities are here. Jay Sean, Nina Davaluri, Honorable Consul General, Deputy Consul General, and thank you for all of their support and participation in making this 6th anniversary of the International Yoga Day a grand success.
I'm affiliated with SRMD Yoga. I'm a trustee of the group, and we've just today launched an SRMD Yoga in about 5 different continents, working throughout the world in partnership with embassies to be able to expand yoga as a method of wellness for both corporate as well as for personal individuals, to be able to expand it. And we're so blessed to be able to be partnering with FIA on this beautiful day where we're able to really expand the use of yoga for wellness for all. Thank you so much.
You can take a knees, chest, chin, or you go through your flow, a chaturanga push-up, into upward facing dog or cobra, into downward facing dog.
Hello, such a beautiful day. My name is Tara Natalie. I had the great pleasure of teaching yoga out here today at Liberty State Park in New Jersey for International Yoga Day and the summer solstice. Just reminding our community of the importance and the gift that this beautiful yoga practice that we have and what it brings to us for improved health and well-being, both physically and mentally. So really happy to be here today sharing.
Hi guys, I'm Jay Sean and we are here at the Liberty State Park. Either way, it's a beautiful park. As you can tell, I'm from England, so I'm not familiar with these places, but let me tell you, what a beautiful day. Absolutely gorgeous day for such a wonderful event. We're celebrating, obviously, the International Day of Yoga, and I got to not only participate, but also be the very proud husband of Tara Natalie, who is my wife, who led a beautiful yoga class today under the sun. So it was lovely day, lovely event.
Thank you ITV and Sudhir Bhai for covering a very nice event today. It's a very beautiful day today, Yoga Day. Everybody happy Yoga Day to each and everyone. And this is a very good event by FIA. FIA always doing wonderful job, and still he's doing more and more. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, FI and Ankur Bhai, for organizing such a wonderful event and promoting healthy lifestyle. Happy Father's Day to everyone, and thank you.
Hi, my name is Shreya Sangbi. I am a trainer from SRMD Yoga, and we're so excited to celebrate International Yoga Day here at Liberty State Park on such a beautiful day. Yoga is such a beautiful way to unite people, and it's a great way to get a nice workout and ease the mind. And we're just so happy to be a part of this initiative for International Yoga Day, thanking FIA and the Consulate General of India of New York, and we're looking forward to working more closely with them in the future.
Happy International Day of Yoga. We all enjoyed so much today, and we want to thank you to the Government of India, Honorable Prime Minister, under his leadership. Yoga is getting another recognition, another name, another synonyms with the India, and we wish everyone very happy International Day of Yoga. Federation of Indian Association proud to expand the belief benefits of the yoga all across the globe. So Jai Hind, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Fantastic class, most amazing weather, beautiful energy. Couldn't have asked for anything better to start off a Sunday. Great time.
Well, it's now time for another short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back, I am Diti Lama and this is Vision of Asia South Asian news segment. In politics, today's Senate Republicans were set to block Democrats' sweeping voting rights bill. Known as For the People Act, this bill aims to expand voting rights, change campaign finance laws to reduce the influence of money in politics, limit partisan gerrymandering, and create new ethics rules for federal office holders. This bill counters the efforts by GOP-led legislatures to pass restrictive voting laws which seem to limit voting rights for many minorities and communities of color. These restrictive laws have been passed in 14 states already. Meanwhile, tense negotiations over President Biden's $4 trillion infrastructure agenda also continues, making it very difficult to reach bipartisan results. On this and much more, we spoke with ITV Gold senior political commentator Mr. Rohit Vyas. Here is a discussion. First question to you has to deal with this sweeping voting rights bill. The Senate is set to vote on this expansive voting bill today. However, we are expecting that all the GOP leaders will be against this vote. Currently, the Democrats, Senator Joe Manchin is also against this vote. The GOP may be bringing in filibuster to make sure the vote doesn't go in the favor of the Democrats. Give me a little insight into what is exactly happening here and what is this filibuster everyone keeps on talking about?
So the filibuster basically is a delay tactic, in which a particular senator in this case would be speaking endlessly. Some of them can speak for hours and hours and hours just to delay any kind of a vote and eventually have it tossed out. That's what a filibuster really is. It was introduced way back, when the Constitution was created. It was all written out as to what the legislative body would do and wouldn't do, et cetera, et cetera. And this was one of these, at that point, considered a safeguard, so that if a particular bill that was being forced through was not good for the people, then the opposing party could go ahead and deploy this delay tactic and engage in endless speeches, which would then lead to nowhere essentially, and then nothing would happen to the piece of legislation. That's what the GOP is intent on doing with this particular Voting Rights Act and bill that is before the Senate. They intend to do it for the infrastructure bill as well, as far as we understand. And, the Senate, the GOP right now, with Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sitting over there, making it very clear that whatever President Biden and the Democrats' agenda is, they do not intend to cooperate whatsoever. So it's been pretty clear that there's going to be bipartisan action. There's going to be partisan action over here, and the Republicans are simply not going to want to hand a victory to the Democrats in any way, form, or fashion. So that's essentially what the filibuster is. The Voting Rights Act is a very serious bill to be discussed, a very serious piece of legislation, what we've seen happening in various states.
Right.
Such as Texas and Georgia in particular, is what appears to be a denial to the minority groups in those states to be able to vote, because most of this is targeting things like people standing in line, people who go to the booth in person, stand in line. They cannot be handed a bottle of water if they're thirsty, if they're standing in scorching heat. They cannot be handed a sandwich to eat in case they've been standing for hours, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very serious matter. It's an infringement in many eyes and in many shapes and fashions on the very democracy that we are witnessing right now.
So let me ask you, about 14 states that have passed these restrictive voting laws. When today doesn't go through for this voting rights bill, where do we land at this point? And do you see this becoming a huge issue in 2024?
Yes, it will be a huge issue. It's a huge issue now. What's happening is the GOP-run states are exercising their own, flexing their own muscles, if you will. It's the same thing with the COVID situation, where many states decided to defy the federal government and just go ahead and do what they want on their own. In our democracy, the states do have certain rights, certain flexibility. And so this is what they're trying to do. So basically, we're seeing a battle, as I see it, we're seeing a battle between the federal government, the executive branch, the legislative branch of the federal government, and the powers exhibited by the states. So there is also this whole struggle now as to who is really calling all the shots, the federal government, the federal legislature, or the states themselves, the state governors, the state legislators. This is what we are seeing right now play out. It is a good thing. It's also a terrible thing, because there has to be some kind of cohesion, especially in a matter like voting rights. All right, that should fall under the national purview, where there should be a uniform voting code for every single state. You can't have states just running away on their own, sort of like errant satellites, and deciding whatever they want. At least that's my understanding of the U.S. Constitution, and this can be a flaw, a big flaw. So I think that's why the voting rights bill that they introduced, the Democrats have introduced, is so critical. However, it's prudent to point out here that even Democrats, you mentioned Joe Manchin, who's a conservative Democrat from West Virginia. There are also moderate Democrats within the Democratic Party who are also resisting busting the filibuster. They don't want to rid the nation of the filibuster, or the executive branch or the legislative branch of the filibuster, because they see what will happen is, if you get rid of the filibuster in future, if one party or the other gains full control of the Senate with a greater majority than we have right now, that can be a problem as well, because if you have no way to delay legislation being passed, if a party is there in power and has enough seats and enough votes, the 60 vote mandate, they'll just do whatever they want to and just bully their way through, as it were.
Well, this wraps up our show for the night. Please send us your suggestions and get your voices and organization on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook at itvgold. Remember, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for free access to many of our popular shows. Thank you for joining us tonight. From Queens, New York, this is Vision of Asia, and I am Diti Lamba. Take care and be well.